Ray-Ban Meta glasses come with open-ear audio, so you can listen to your favorite music without blocking out the world around you.
Hey Meta, play Gorgeous.
Here's Gorgeous by Doja Cat.
You can also ask Meta AI questions.
Hey Meta, when's Doja Cat's next concert?
Doja Cat is playing at the Los Angeles Theater next Tuesday.
Sweet.
Ray-Ban Meta glasses, available at Ray-Ban stores and other authorized retailers.
If we knew more about our sleep, what would we do differently? Would we go to bed at a consistent time or take steps to reduce interruptions to our sleep? With the all-new Sleep Score, Apple Watch measures your bedtime consistency, interruptions, and sleep duration. Then, every morning it combines these factors into an easy-to-understand score from 1 to 100. So you'll know how to take the quality of your sleep from good to excellent. Introducing the new Sleep Score on Apple Watch. iPhone 11 or later required.
Ladies and gentlemen, non-binary listeners, crooks and crookians, heroes and heroines, Kathy Mattia, the audio performance you are about to enjoy discusses casinos and gambling. We do not recommend gambling with money you cannot afford to lose or that is needed to pay bills. If you have a gambling problem, contact your problem gambling hotline. If you do not know how to contact your problem gambling hotline, send an email to help@casinocombat.com. We will find that number for you and provide it to you. Our hosts' past performances are not indicative of anyone's future results, including his own. All materials presented here are based on actual facts. Names and dates are changed to protect the innocent and the guilty. Some events, unrelated to outcomes, may be omitted in the interest of brevity and clarity. It's me, it's TRG, the Ramblin Gambler. I'm walking away a winner. I'm walking away from a losing game. With my pride intact and my vision back, I can say, I know where I'm going. I know I'll be all right. I'm walking away a winner, walking back into my life. Welcome to episode 135 of our Casino Combat podcast. If this is your next time, thank you very much for the return visit. If this is your first time, we very much appreciate you taking a few minutes to see what this is all about. To give you the short version, this is about winning the game of casino gambling, and that is bigger than winning any one losing casino game. I'll get to the long form, where, how, and why of that in a minute, but allow me to ramble for just a minute on those lyrics. I think clearly the author was talking about walking away from love and the game of love as an unwinnable game, and using a gambling metaphor to have that conversation and to do that presentation. That said, if you've paid any attention to all of the rules and math of casino games, you know if you walk away at any point, winning or losing, you are walking away from a losing game. Quite literally, I'm sorry kid, the game was rigged from the start. If you are walking away a winner from a losing game, that is an accomplishment. In that case, you should be proud. And if you did it by listening to what we discuss here, you probably accomplished those things with clear eyes and a clear mind, which is to say, your vision is back. You would in fact know where you are going and know you will be all right. The part I really like, and not in the way that the singer intends, every time I walk away from a table or even a casino, I walk very literally back into my life. My life is, as much as anything else, a casino. I am blessed and fortunate to live a big part of my life in and around casinos, and the result is what I call a casino lifestyle. And this podcast is very much about showing how anyone with access to casinos can live a casino lifestyle at least a part of their time. It can be an integral part of the life they live. A lifestyle where casinos pay significant portions of the living expenses of my life, your life, our lives. Casinos buy my food, pay for my electricity and showers, provide glorious spaces and great entertainment and wonderful views of the world. The singer was talking about walking away from risk, back into a normal life. Understanding risk and leveraging risk is how my wife and I choose to live our normal lives. A part of our lives virtually every day by virtue of proximity involves the casino in some way and involves it as a tool to make our lives better. If this is your first time and that sounds interesting, unique, or amazing to you, join us for the ride. If that sounds stupid and impossible and you just want to listen and ridicule, that's fine too. The algorithm works either way. Love it, hate it, it don't matter. Please share with your family and friends. I've got some squad news, but first let's run through the battle plan for this episode of our Casino Combat Podcast. Oh, well, this is a bit of a list. We should get started if we're going to do all of this. It seems like T-Rex could have edited this down a bit. Maybe we could drop one of the, actually, no, I get it now. I get it. We actually do need all of this for a cohesive episode. He was absolutely right. Let me lay it out for you. We are going to start with a moment of casino wisdom and discuss from a beginner's point of view, the application of one of the most important casino wisdoms. Don't tip away your wins. I say it in the wrap up of every episode, in the outro. But how do we do that from a practical point of view? I'm going to talk about that today. I'm going to give you some solid tips and tricks on that topic. After that, Mrs. TRG will join us in an Oasis segment and evaluate an MGM spa she recently enjoyed. I hope she enjoyed it. I assume she enjoyed it. She said she did at the time. Hopefully that's her conclusion. From there, we are going to do a Moment of Koncepts segment based on an amazing Wall Street Journal article I just read and really like. Some great things to think about there, and we're going to talk about those. After that, it is a Core Koncepts segment to talk about a wonderful craps strategy that the gang in the virtual VIP lounge just loves and brought to my attention. They have tested it in a variety of ways. Mrs. TRG and I have been using our kind of modified version to good effect, so I really do need to share that with you, as the results are going to be part of the process in many ways going forward. After that, we will have a travel segment to cover a couple of weeks of gambling with a focus on a trip we took. Finally, as always, we will finish up in the virtual VIP lounge with some sips and some stories. I suspect no big lessons in this one, just a simple, funny to us observation about something that happened to us more than once at a craps table. Something I think you might get a chuckle over, something I would certainly share just sitting around the lounge having a drink. And so it fits there and fits there well. Hopefully you enjoy that and we can have some fun with that. Before we start with the battle plan, always the biggest news that we can't wait to highlight and celebrate is the Excelsior Brigade has a new member. Questing Scholar has played the game as described in episode 22 of our Casino Combat Podcast to join the elite ranks of the Excelsior Brigade. And this was special. Before he was Questing Scholar, this listener asked to join the virtual VIP lounge, our eccentric, public-facing secret society of professional gamblers. And the admission committee had to say, not yet. You need to join the Excelsior Brigade first. So everyone involved was hopeful that the extra effort would be made, that this would happen. So glad that it did. Just thrilled that someone who got told not yet put in the effort to do what others have done and figure out that other little qualification. So happy to have Questing Scholar in our group, asking good questions, interacting with us all day, every day in the virtual VIP lounge. And I'm going to move along from this quickly. I've talked about the virtual VIP lounge as a real new thing that we're doing and how to join the past couple of episodes. But I do want to share one part of a conversation Excelsior Brigade member Nakatomi Tony and I had about this. And after he had to tell aspiring member to be Questing Squire, no, we're sorry, not yet, NT said, boy, he's a great guy. I hope he doesn't think we're being elitist a-holes about this. And my response was, he might, but if we are the only elitist a-holes in the gambling space that don't charge money to be a member. If nothing else, that is what sets us apart. No one here is charging anyone to share what they know. At least not money. Membership only requires effort and a one-time effort. We're not asking for a paid subscription. We're not asking for you to join a website on an annual basis. We're not coming back to you and saying, hey, we're kicking you out unless you pay X. If you want to make a donation, that's fine. PayPal will let you email us money. You can email trg@casinocombat.com. I will make sure it gets where it's going. You can support this podcast. You can go to anchor.fm/Casino Combat, spell combat with a K, hit the support button and make a monthly contribution. We always appreciate everyone that does. There are a number of people out there that make a monthly contribution to keep this all going. You are welcome to do all those things, but those are all voluntary. Joining the virtual VIP lounge, being part of that virtual space and having all those conversations with all those, as Nakatomi Tony used to say, big brains as it comes to gambling. That's just a matter of effort. And if that makes us elitist, okay, I guess we are. Yeah, we're the best of the best, willing to help everybody else for free if they just go through the process of figuring out how to be where we are. Okay, enough of that. Let's move on. Let's get started with a moment of casino wisdom. One of the things I've been trying to focus on, and that I wanted to try to do again today, I've been trying to focus on finding beginner content. We do lots of, quote, PhD level content, a lot of advanced stuff, and that certainly is important, and it certainly has its place, but I've been also trying to look for and focus on things for people who are just starting out. And so what I wanted to do today is take a moment, quite literally, and revisit Casino Wisdom number 14, don't tip away your wins. And I say this at the end of every episode, and let me start, I guess, by refreshing you on how this wisdom came to be. And this is one of those situations where I'm going to tell the same story for a second time, so apologies if an aging brain tells the story slightly differently the second time than he did the first time. But I was playing blackjack at my local casino with a young man, and he was tipping on almost every hand. And the one shoe that stood out, the one shoe that caused the creation of this wisdom, he was doing really, really well. He won way more hands than he lost. But he would win a hand, and suppose he won $15, $15 minimum table. And so he'd win a hand and he'd win $15 and he'd tip $5 by handing it to the dealer, which is one way that you can tip in blackjack. You can simply hand the money to them, slide it across the table, say, this is for you, and they'll do the shaving a haircut tap thing, and they'll drop the money in the box. The other way that you can tip is you can put a small bet beside, usually on the line of the circle or the square that you're betting in, and you can put a small amount of money there, and that's an indication that you're playing that money for the dealer. If the bet is lost, the money goes away, and if the bet is won, then you get paid, and the tip is twice as large, or more than that if perhaps a blackjack occurs. So this young man, as I said, would win $15, tip $5, and then put $5 beside his next $15 wager, and he would lose. So he won 15, tipped 10, kept 5. And then a hand or two later, he would hit something nice. He would hit a blackjack, and he would tip $7.50, 5 plus the $2.50 chip, and then he would repeat the bet 5 for the house, bet 5 for the dealers, not technically the house, and lose, and once again, only have $5 of his profit. And then sometimes he would lose the next hand and then win a hand and then repeat the process. And he got to the end and he counts up his money and he kind of looked at me confused. And I said, you don't have as much as you thought you should have, do you? Or something to that effect. And he goes, no, what happened? And I said, you tipped away your win. He had sat there and tipped back to the dealers virtually all of the money. He was over tipping for what he was playing and what he was winning. And that moment of realization for him and realization on my part of what he had done as I watched it happen led to the creation of Casino Wisdom number 14, don't tip away your win. Now, I say, Tip your waitresses, tip your bartenders, tip your dealers. If you have a host, tip your host. Those are important things. And it's important that you tip as you play. That's part of having allies. Tipping is a tool. Tipping is a way for the house, both pit bosses and dealers, to know that you're a good customer, that you're someone to be taken care of. There is nothing worse than the person who's playing big relative to the rest of the table. Say it's a $15 table and you're playing black $100 or purple $500 chips or stacking green chips up really big, and you get a blackjack and you tip nothing. And then the hand after that, maybe you go $150 at this $15 table, and then you get eights and you split them and you double one of them and you win all three wagers. And you tip nothing. You just won $450 and you don't have a couple red chips to tip the dealer. Heck, in that case, maybe even a green chip to tip the dealer. So tipping is important, and it's important that you tip as you play, because if you just, some people just get to the end and then they tip, like they're tipping at a restaurant or they're tipping a limo driver. End of the service, now you tip. But in a casino, tipping along the way, if something comes up that the dealer can make a choice in your favor or not in your favor, can help you or hurt you. It is much better to have been tipping as you go. So it's an important tool. It's an important tool of a good player. Super important on a craps table to tip somewhat early in the process, because there are all kinds of situations where dealers can help you on a craps table, and they will help you on a craps table. Whether it's calling a no roll, whether it's calling a dice that's kind of tipped weird. I've seen that situation. I've seen situations where I thought dealers flat out cheated because and cheat is maybe too strong a word. Cheat is maybe a little too crookish. But they had a choice to make, and they made the choice that helped the player, because the player had money on the line for them, and they let that happen. So it's very important as a tool to tip as you go, not tip at the end when it comes to dealers. So how do we not tip away our win? One of the things you can do, one of the things that I have done, it's part of my play at this point when I'm playing blackjack, is I've systemized when I tip. There's no point in tipping if you're losing. If you're sitting and just getting, barely staying in the game, if you're playing toward a zero exit, there's no reason to tip, because that's tipping into your loss. That's not even tipping away your win. That's tipping yourself into a bigger loss. So I tend to tip when I'm winning, and I've systemized it. For instance, if I play a $25 hand and I get a blackjack and the payout is $37.50, most places, not all, but most places, that last $2.50 is going to be one small pink or purple chip, a $2.50 chip. It's confusing to the cage. It's kind of an extra chip laying around. I almost immediately tip that back on the next hand. I put it beside my bet and tip the dealer on the next hand with that $2.50 chip. As I said, they're annoying to cash out. They are an extra stack to make on the table. I tend to not keep them. And obviously you could tip them to the wait staff too, and that's a perfectly good use of those. But I tend to tip it back to the dealer on the next hand. The other place I tip systematically is anytime I make the second progressive bet in any of my wagering systems, whether that's TRG1, TRG2, or TRG4, win more, keep more. So it goes like this. I win 1 unit. I win 1 unit again. I've now won 2 in a row and added to the win stack. The next bet is a unit and a half, up half a unit from the win stack. If I win that bet, the next bet is up half a unit twice. So it's up to a 2-unit bet, kind of generically speaking. I will often reduce that bet by $5 and then put that $5 out for the dealer. So if I was playing a $25 table where I go up by, quote, half, so I go from 25 to 35, the next bet would be 45 or 50. I make it at 40 and put the other $5 chip out for the dealer. So I'm not tipping away my wins, because I'm tipping because I'm going on a winning run. The other time that I make sure that I tip systematically is that situation where I've split, maybe there's a double on one of the splits, and collected on all of those. I always make sure that I tip something in that situation. So I'm tipping after large wins, and I'm tipping a small percentage of that win. And I'm doing it within the course of play. So the dealer is seeing that if I'm doing well, they're going to do well, and they're generally happy about that, and they're generally very understanding that if the next day I'm not doing well and tips aren't particularly forthcoming. They can see that I'm struggling, and they understand. And I can't stress enough, well, maybe I have stressed enough, right? I say it every episode, and I'm taking the time again today to talk about it, and talk about it from a very basic, why it's important point of view. So perhaps let me just finish up with one quick story, and then we'll move on to the next segment. Maybe 2 years ago, I was at Casino One, and I've been going to Casino One for going on 2 decades now, and they know me fairly well. I'm not sure how many of them remember that the guy in the vest is the guy that used to be 40 pounds heavier way back in the day. I'm not sure that many of them remember that, but I remember them. So I was playing one night when I was there on a solo trip, and good technique is always, or almost always, to check in with a pit boss, particularly a place you don't play as often, and just say, hey, how do you have me rated? Because sometimes they have you too high, and that's fine. Good for you. And sometimes they maybe have you a little bit too low, and you can say, maybe more like this number. You know, if you've been playing between $10 and $40 is where your range of bets have been. But you started out at 10, you might ask, and they go, I've got you at 15. And you go, well, I've made quite a few, $30 and $40 bets. And if the dealer says, yeah, that's right, well, then they'll often move you up somewhere in the middle of that. Maybe they move you up to 35. Maybe they only move you up to 25, but that's certainly fair than having you at a $10 or $15 point. So I said to the pit boss, hey, so where do you have me rated? And he gave me a number that was double what it probably should have been. It was a pretty large number for the bets that I had been making. And I said, oh, okay, thanks. And then he paused for a minute and he goes, we know who tips. And he just kind of smiled and walked away. The indication is obvious, right? Let me be really precise there. The indication is obvious. He was intentionally overrating me because he knew I was someone that was going to take care of the dealers and by extension take care of him. And so he was being generous with the tier points, which cost him nothing, and the free tax-free imaginary money, which costs him nothing, because he knew I was going to be good for them as players. And the higher my rating, the more likely it is that I'm going to come back, the more my comps and gifts and return things are going to be, so the bigger chance that I'm going to return. So he's an ally and he's taking care of me. And that highlights the importance of tipping not just as the right thing to do, but as a way to follow one of our other wisdoms and have allies and build those relationships, because those relationships then will benefit all of you as you go through this journey and as you go through this process of winning the game of casino gambling. All right, after this, we are going to have Mrs. TRG join us, and she is going to do an Oasis segment and talk about some spa time she recently spent at an MGM property nearby.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Oasis segment of our Casino Combat podcast. On our visit to the MGM Grand, I was very fortunate to be able to schedule a spa treatment this trip, realizing that the muscles get kind of tight after lifting and putting grandkids in and out of car seats and everything. So it was really a great opportunity to get some of those kinks worked out. Upon check-in at the spa, a very nice gentleman gave me a great tour of the facilities and everything, especially since I have never been to this specific MGM property at their spa. So it was nice to be able to see where everything was, and he made me feel very comfortable and showing me where the ladies' locker room was. The ladies' locker room was very nice. It was very clean. The ambiance and features were that there are a manicure and pedicure separate room that you could go there if that is something that you were looking for in your spa treatment. I went for the massage, so there was a separate massage room with lots of different tables, lots of different massages to choose from, and there were also facials that they offered at the spa. Within the ladies' locker room, there was also a steam room that you could enjoy. They had a jacuzzi, plenty of showers and restrooms. They also offered hair products and feminine products that were available for you to use after your shower. There was nice, relaxing music to listen to. The decor was very nice and very spa-like. There was also like landscape rocks that kind of filled around the perimeter of the entire spa with little lighted lanterns around that kind of gave a neat little outdoorsy but yet relaxing feature. There's a really large pool area as well that you could go swim in and just sit and relax, read a book, listen to the music. They had these big round egg-like chairs that you could sit in with lots of different cushions and pillows. They also had handicap accessibility chairs and ramps that you could use if you were using the pool as well. I thought the water was just a little chilly, but maybe after the steam room that might be a very refreshing thing to do to jump back into the pool. So I gave the ambiance and features of the spa 5 out of 5. Easy access, I also rated a 5 out of 5. Button on the elevator was clearly marked and it took you right to the desk there where to check in. So easy access from the elevator. Food and beverage, I also rated a 5 and 5. You don't necessarily think of a spa having food and beverage, but most spas that I have visited do offer water and those types of things to help hydrate yourself. This spa had a variety of fruits and trail mix scattered in different bowls and things that you could eat and enjoy while enjoying the spa. They had water bottles, cucumber water, which is always one of my favorites. Even though they didn't have any alcoholic beverages, they certainly had plenty of water and refreshing beverages that you could drink to hydrate yourself. The overall vibe, I also rated as a 5 out of 5. As I said, the spa was very nice and clean. It was relaxing. It was spacious. They also offer the idea that you can come back all day long as the spa is open. If you book an appointment with them or book a type of treatment with them, you are allowed to use the spa and the facilities, the steam room, the pool, all day long as long they are open. So that's also a nice feature that I enjoyed as well. That gives the MGM Grand a 20 out of 20. Agree or disagree? It doesn't matter. I'm just the wife of a Rambler Gambler.
You're traveling through another dimension. A dimension not only of sight and sound, but of mind.
Thing means nothing.
What? A journey into a wondrous land whose boundaries are that of imagination.
I like to do Moment of Koncepts segments to let us pause, to think about things, to maybe see the world in a different way, to examine ourselves as individuals, as people, to understand how gambling impacts us at an emotional level, a psychological level, a physical level. I like to, as I've said on a couple of occasions, use them as a way to encourage us to think deep thoughts about gambling and about this casino lifestyle that many of us are trying to live. And I came across a really interesting Wall Street Journal article on the calming power of rituals. And I'm going to add and totems. Perhaps people would think of them as lucky charms. I don't. I tend to think of them as devices for focus or devices for influencing those around me to think or feel a certain way. So that is a bit crookish. That is a bit manipulative if you want to see it that way. But I'm a firm believer in the power of rituals and of totems. And so when I saw the heading for the Wall Street Journal article, the title, I was, of course, always happy to jump in and read something that confirmed something that I had observed or thought unscientifically. I'm always happy to see scientific confirmation of things that I believe to be true, and that's confirmation bias to a certain extent, but just a very, very interesting article. Gambling for everyone, and particularly for beginners, especially for those just beginning to play for profit, not for entertainment, can be a high stress, high anxiety, or high excitement activity. I can recall back when gambling was only possible in Las Vegas, the feeling of excitement, the feeling of tension, the energy of landing at the airport, that feeling of wanting to, as quickly as possible, get into a game and get started with what we come to do in the only place in the United States where it could be done, that wanting to get to a game. That's that feeling we're talking about here. Certainly even now when I play almost every day, there can be anxiety and stress if things are not going well. If I'm at a -5 or -6 on my play stack with an empty win stack, that can cause stress and anxiety. Or likewise, when I make that 2 or 3 unit bet and need to split and then double, and there are a lot of units on the table, those can be high anxiety, high stress moments. And what this article pointed out is that telling yourself to stay calm in those high stress, high anxiety situations isn't really particularly useful. And that's because you are trying to suppress a very important human mechanism. That state of stress is a psychological and physical state of high tension that includes an activation of the limbic and sympathetic nervous systems. If you're being chased by a bear, those are very important things to activate. Those are survival situations where you need to be in a high tension state. That's what this aspect of our lives is all about. It's important. It's an important part of what makes us human, that has allowed us to survive and thrive as a species. But that's not always helpful when we're trying to perform our best in a high-skill situation. And please make no mistake, gambling for a profit is a high-skill situation. Some people would tell you it is impossible, that it cannot be done. I disagree. But if it's going to be done, it's going to be done with a lot of skill and precision and emotional and physical control. Any of you who just tried to play blackjack or craps for profit recently for the first time know exactly what I'm talking about. You're organizing your chips as a tool. If you're playing blackjack, you're also remembering the correct basic strategy play. At the craps table, there are literally hundreds of bets, chips flying out everywhere. Sometimes you have multiple bets in play. People are screaming out their bets. Where is your player's card? Did they swipe it in? Do you need a water from the waitress? How does the pit boss have you rated? Add in the lights and the noise of the casino. There's a lot going on. Being in a state of high tension is normal. Having those limbic and sympathetic nervous systems activated is normal. And this is where the article comes in and points out how useful rituals can be to high-performing individuals. And they start with some examples from the world of sports. Serena Williams, for instance, bounces the ball 5 times before her first serve and then 2 times before her second serve every single time. That is her ritual. Cristiano Ronaldo only steps onto the pitch with his right foot first. Even in fiction about the business world, we see rituals like this. In the sitcom 30 Rock, Jack Donaghy uses rituals before big meetings. His went something like this.
Oh, buddy, here we go. Bases loaded, bottom of the 9th. Are you going to step up? Oh, yeah. Because it's winning time, you magnificent son of a bitch.
As I said, these high-tension feelings of stress and anxiety serve a purpose. 2 psychologists formulated the Yerkes-Dodson law in 1908, which showed that a moderate dose of tension and stress improves performance as long as it isn't debilitating. The right amount of tension and stress prompts us to practice and prepare more, setting us up to perform our best while boosting our motivation and stamina. But there is a tipping point where those emotions become too intense unless we have a tool for dealing with them. That tool is rituals and totems. These provide a point of focus, leaving less space for intrusive and anxious thoughts. No ritual, no totem is going to replace knowing blackjack basic strategy, or having a wagering plan committed to memory that includes progressive and regressive wagering techniques. But rituals give us a way to manage our nerves, dial into skills we've worked hard to achieve, and gives us that elusive something more that allows us to step into the metaphorical spotlight and shine. Rituals and totems are going to be different for everyone. For some of you, listening to a particular podcast episode or segment as you travel to a casino is part of your ritual. That's very, very flattering. I was very honored to find that out. Likewise, I know people who always stay on a certain floor or even a specific room in a hotel, or they have lucky items. I'm a great example of that. I don't normally wear my casino gear, my uniform, if you will, in my daily life. A bit too much papaya, as they would say in South America. The vest stays in the back of the car. The rings and blings stay in a Crown Royal peach bag in my technology and defense bag. My driver's license and bankroll stay in my wallet. So when I get to the casino, I have a ritual. Park the car, put on the vest, put the bankroll and driver's license in the correct vest pockets, put on the rings and blings. Now start walking to the elevator. When no one is around, count the bankroll one last time so I know exactly how much I am entering the building with, even though I counted it before I left home in the morning. Now stop at the kiosk. Swipe in for my various promotions. If a gift is being given, go get the gift and put it in the car. If free play has been received, go play it. Go play that free play using TRG slot strategy number 1 from the free-to-download ebook Casino Combat Slot Tactics, which is in the Fred section of the website, casinocombat.com. And, of course, don't forget to spell combat with a K. Now I record all of those results, so I'm accountable to someone or something. Now I'm ready to start the process of playing the game or games I've planned and making some money. I'm focused. I'm prepared. I've channeled and harnessed that natural energy into something useful. And you can dismiss that as pointless superstition, and for a player only interested in entertainment, that might just be the case. It might only be superstition. But I remain convinced, and this article confirms, that for a high-skill player, for someone playing for profit, these are much more than just superstitions. They are rituals and totems that focus the mind and allow control of the very emotions that can ruin a gambling session due to high tension and anxiety. I've used the metaphor in the past of driving a race car at high speeds, just on the edge of control. That is what I'm trying to do with my emotions, put them just on the edge of losing control. Allow just enough of them to be focused and operate at a high level, but not let them get out of control to a degree where I make mistakes. If you've never considered this in your play, I strongly encourage you to. Figure out what your rituals are. Maybe you already do them and you just haven't realized what they are. Maybe you have, quote, lucky socks. Or maybe you always enter a building through a specific door. But I encourage you to develop those rituals and habits because, as we've seen, the research shows that it has a strong psychological correlation to operating at a high level and achieving success. All right. Next up, we are going to do a Core Koncepts segment.
Hi, I'm here to pick up my son Milo.
There's no Milo here.
Who picked up my son from school?
Streaming only on Peacock.
I'm gonna need the name of everyone that could have a connection.
You don't understand. It was just the 5 of us.
So this was all planned.
What are you gonna do? I will do whatever it takes to get my son back.
I honestly didn't see this coming. These nice people killing each other.
All Her Fault, a new series streaming now only on Peacock.
Ford was built on the belief that the world doesn't get to decide what you're capable of. You do. So ask yourself, can you or can't you? Can you load up a Ford F-150 and build your dream with sweat and steel? Can you chase thrills and conquer curves in a Mustang? Can you take a Bronco to where the map ends and adventure begins? Whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. Ready, set, Ford.
The core concepts of Casino Combat, of course, spelling concepts with a K. The core concepts are the foundational ideas that I feel are essential, the starting point, the building blocks of being good at the game and winning the game of casino gambling. covered them many times, talked about them many ways. They are a wonderful set of tools. I encourage you to learn them. I encourage you to seek them out. One way to do that is the playlist, Casino Combat Boot Camp, on the YouTube channel, unique and limited to only the YouTube channel. That playlist is a series of short 10 to 15 minute lessons that go through all of the core concepts in order. Try to strip out as much of the jokes and stories and all of that and just teach the core concepts. You can also find them in the blog section of the website as a blog post, or you could listen to the first roughly 10 episodes of this podcast. Lots of different ways to consume those ideas in their most foundational state. But one of the core concepts, and the one I wanted to talk about a little bit today, or use as a jumping off point to talk about something, is to make wagers with a very small house advantage. And admittedly, that's not slots. And admittedly, to my surprise, I've discovered a way to make money playing slots. But for the most part, most of the wagers that I make, if you total up all of the spins we make on a slot machine for a month, and then total the number of hands of blackjack, craps, video poker, occasionally baccarat that we play, slots are going to be less than 5% of what we do, Mrs. TRG and myself being the we in this case. Very small percentages of slots. Most of the wagers I make are very low house advantage wagers. And I try to be very careful. I don't listen or watch a lot of YouTube stuff about gambling. I don't listen to a lot of other podcasts about gambling because I don't want to inadvertently plagiarize anyone else. I don't want to inadvertently claim something that's as my own that isn't my own unique thoughts. But I do have a technique that I need to share with you because it is becoming an increasing part of my craps play, and because it fits very well in this idea of a low house advantage wager. It fits very well. And this came to my attention through the guys in the virtual VIP lounge. Inner Circle members like SameBet found out recently that VCPD found this and likes it as a craps strategy. SameBet has tested it. Equine Ensign has tested it. It's a group favorite because it is a very safe and very easy and very low risk craps strategy because it only makes wagers with a very small house advantage. And my understanding is that a lot of people on YouTube have tested this strategy. And my other understanding is that the most likely originator of this in the public domain is someone on YouTube called Crappy the Crapsman. And my understanding is that he originated it. It has been iterated on. It is certainly a foundation. It is certainly a platform for building on low house advantage wagers at the craps table. And in its original form, it involves 4 wagers per shooter. Only 4, no more, sometimes less, but no more than 4 wagers, all of the same size. You start with a don't pass wager, and if then a point is established, you make a come bet with no odds, and another come bet with no odds, and then a don't come wager, a DC wager, and those are the 4 wagers for the process. Equine Ensign and the guys have experimented. I've experienced some with making the first wager part of a TRG 4 win more, keep more sequence. So raising and lowering that wager based on the previous outcomes of that wager. I've personally played around with doing TRG 4 on the first 2 wagers, the don't pass and then the first come bet, taking those up and down units in response to previous wins and losses on a particular shooter as I move to the next shooter. But as it was originally presented, it's just 4 bets, and 4 bets where the house advantage is never more than $1 and some pennies per 100 wagered. So it tends to be, we call it play all day, and I'm not sure if Crappy the Craftsman originally called it that or not, but we call it play all day because it serves that purpose very, very well. You tend to play for extended periods of time, earn a lot of tier credits, which is one of our core concepts, have and use a player's card, so that if you get to the end of the month and you have lost some money, you have made it up on comps and gifts. All part of the core concepts. So this crap strategy fits very well in that mode. It's a useful point earner. It tends to not hurt you. You either win just a little or lose just a little most of the time. Yes, occasionally things go off the rails in a bad way and you have a strong negative exit. Sometimes things go off the rails the other way and you have a very strong win. But for the most part, you win just a little or lose just a little, and we find we tend to run out of time more often than we run out of money. So particularly in a place where drinks are comped, it is a great way to hang out in the casino, earn points, not put a whole lot of money at risk, enjoy some comped cocktails, and enjoy your evening. It is also great on cruise ships for earning that next comped cruise. You're spending a lot of time at the tables. You're not going to put a lot of money at risk. Now, one of the innovations that Mrs. TRG and I have made is we've turned it into a couples strategy. So she goes up and she buys in with her 10 units and she hands over her card. And then I buy in with 10 units and I hand over my card. And I make the dark side bets and she makes the light side bets. So I make the don't pass bet when a new shooter's getting ready to come out and the puck is off. And then when a point is established, she makes a come bet, and then another come bet, and then I make the don't come wager, the DC wager, and now we're set and just waiting for things to work themselves out. And generally speaking, she will win a unit or two, I will win a unit or two, she'll lose a unit or two, I'll lose a unit or two. We're both being rated. We're both being rated as if we're making two low house advantage bets. But as a couple, when we finish up, we've both gotten points. Our wagers often offset each other, and sometimes our wagers complement each other. There is nothing better when playing this strategy than making the don't pass bet. Then the point is established, and you make a come bet, and then the next number's big red. It's perfect. As a couple strategy, she's getting paid, and I'm getting paid. We just made 2 units on a total of 3 rolls, and we're on to starting the strategy all over again. It's a wonderful, wonderful strategy. I want to give credit where credit is due. I didn't invent it. I did not discover it. But I also want to be transparent and tell you I'm using it and reinforce the idea that it matches up with all our core concepts really, really well. It fits exactly what I'm trying to do, particularly if you add some increases to your wagers as the result of having lost on the previous shooter. It's a wonderful strategy. It works really well. My compliments to all the people on YouTube that have tried it and demoed it and tested it and sorted it out. My appreciation to the guys in the virtual VIP lounge for their time on testing at this. I'd love to have Equine Ensign on at some point if he's willing. He has tested multiple variations of this strategy multiple times on exactly the same sets of dice rolls to determine which perform better or worse using the same exact set of rolls. So I'm very grateful to all of them for showing me this amazing strategy. If you have a chance and you want to see it in action, look up Play All Day and Crappy the Craftsman on YouTube. Get a great example of it right from the source, but I did want to share it with you today. As I said before, because it fits our core concepts and because I've been using it. And because I've been using it and I'm telling you about our results, I want to make sure that I'm honest and transparent about exactly what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. All right. Next up, we're going to have a travel segment. I'll share some results with you, but as you heard from Mrs. TRG, we did just spend some time out of town, spend a couple nights at a resort casino, living that wonderful casino lifestyle, and so we'll do that next, and I'll share those results with you. We're going to call this a travel segment because the travel was certainly the most interesting part of things, and it's what I'm going to highlight, and we'll probably move through this fairly quickly. I did a lot of my gambling locally, quick, easy days, generally had a lot of success pretty much winning days every day as I went along, 5 days a week, picking up the gift cards, picking up the free handbags, picking up the big box store things, gift cards, picking up the free lottery tickets, all of the basic day in, day out, just do the work kind of thing. Strong run all the way through. We had a family event on the last Saturday of this 2-week period, which is about 5.5 hours from our house, which is not relevant to anything except the event was on Saturday. We were going to have to drive down, as I said, 5.5 hours, couple hours for the event, make our way back. It makes for a long day, is the point there. And one of our casino wisdoms is ABC, always be casinoing. And as we looked at the schedule and we looked at what we had on our individual calendars, Mrs. TRG said, well, she was busy on Thursday until about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but if I wanted to do something after that would make sense travel-wise, she'd be more than happy to do that. It sounded fun to her. We hadn't been anywhere in a while. Well, home casino doesn't make sense. Casino 2.5 hours in the wrong direction, and likewise, therefore, Casino 1 makes no sense. It's in the wrong direction, but that wonderful MGM property that is 2.5 hours east and a little north, crazy as it sounds, actually kind of reduces the drive by 50%. So here's how that lays out. We would go over on Thursday, arrive just after dinner time, spend the evening on Friday, spend the evening on Saturday, and then only have a 2.5 to 3 hour drive to the family event. Much more manageable from our point of view. When we looked at things, we saw that what was normally comped rooms at that MGM did have a small charge, less than a third of a day's pay. And we went, oh, it's probably because they're in the path of the eclipse. Everyone's going to be there for the eclipse. And we went, all right, that's not that big a deal to pay for 2 nights of date night. Let's go over and enjoy this great hotel. Good plan, not a lot of cost. However, we show up, check in, and of course the room is great, wonderful hotel, but we find out that it's not a small charge on top of our normal comp because of the eclipse. No, the local baseball team is getting ready to have their opening day festivities the following day, and because of rain somewhere or something, they actually were playing a baseball game that was supposed to be an away game at home the day before their official home opener and all the festivities. So the casino and the hotel are packed by baseball fans. Great people to hang out with, but that's where the craziness came in, and that forced table prices, table minimums way, way, way up for most of this trip. Now, this casino is interesting, and I've talked about this before, because they will start with very low table minimums, and as demand happens, they will raise up the table minimum, but grandfather everyone at the table in for as long as they keep playing. Some places will grandfather you for a shoe or two, some people for as long as you stay, but you could get there at 7 a.m. when they have $10 or $15 tables, and you would still be grandfathered in as long as you were on that table. You can walk away, use the restroom, make a phone call, come back. As long as you're not gone more than 15 or 20 minutes, they'll save your spot, and you're grandfathered in at the lower amount. So our first night there, we managed to snag seats at a table that was at a $25 minimum, and we just knew we were going to hold those 2 spots until we were done. And we did, despite playing with some people that we did not particularly enjoy playing with, which you'll hear about in a fun story in a future episode, I'm sure. We went ahead and held those seats and played there and played almost all night. Let's say we approached midnight before we were done. And both of us won some money, had a great time, had a great evening out. As you heard, the following day, room service breakfast, that's casino lifestyle for sure. And then Mrs. TRG went and enjoyed the spa. She told you about her thoughts on the spa. And I did kind of a combination of podcast work emails, that types of things. Lots of communication stuff, bouncing around from table to table, playing some craps, playing some blackjack. Started off super hot. First couple tables were great. And then I just went through a process of walking away from a table because things didn't go my way, taking a small negative exit, coming back to a table where the limits had been pushed up. I really kind of screwed up. I really should have walked away, taken a nap. I mean, done more than just walk away, check my email, send a couple text messages, and drop back in on a table where the limits had just gone up. And I did just flat out have some improbable events. I played some free bet blackjack, and over I would get a hand that allowed the house to make free bets for me. I would draw a horrible card on the double or a horrible card on the split, and the house would draw great cards. So I got beat up a good bit in the afternoon, met Mrs. TRG, had dinner, had a wonderful dinner, once again, room service in the room, and we went downstairs to do one primary thing. If you recall, the last cruise, I told you about a repeatable hack, as people like to say now, where you don't take your bankroll on the boat. When you get on the boat, they allow you to play with cash charged to your room. If you're at the second tier in that system, they don't charge you a fee for that. So you pull the money out that way, and we back that with an MGM credit card. So now removed from that cruise, all the free play from that charge against our card was available on Mrs. TRG's account. So we had not quite 2 days pay in free slot play. We ran it through Heidi and Little Shop of Horrors, got almost 2 days worth of cash out of that free play. So a great return on how we handled our bankroll process on the boat. And that is part of that idea of winning the game of casino gambling. Choices that we made weeks before on a cruise about how to handle the bankroll, what money to take, what money to leave, turned into a nice chunk of free slot play a short time later and a nice chunk of cash in our pockets. Now, after we'd taken care of that little bit of business, which was certainly a lot of fun, we walked the casino floor and found out that, in fact, all the table limits were up. Tables that during the day had been $15 or $25 were now $75 to $200. Not a range in which Mrs. TRG is going to be comfortable playing. I'm comfortable playing at that level, but I want to work up to it and work back, as you know. I want to martingale and mini martingale my way around. I don't want to start there with $75 as a unit size. We could have called it a night. We could have found a cool bar to listen to live music in. We found a craps table, and we just did that crap strategy I've been telling you about, play all day. Divided in half. I took the first and the final don't bets. Mrs. TRG took the two come bets in the middle, and we just hung out and had a good time. Enjoyed our cocktails, enjoyed what we could hear of the live music, enjoyed hanging out with the baseball fans. And when we finished the evening up, we'd been there for hours, gotten a ton of tier points, got great free tax-free imaginary money added to our account, did all the things that casino play can and will do, and all we had done was pay for the drinks. We didn't win any money. We didn't lose any money. We basically had the same money that we had started the evening with, other than the cash from the free slot play, but we'd had a wonderful evening and accumulated points and done those other things, and that's also living a casino lifestyle. Mostly comped hotel room that was costing other people what I would consider 2 days' pay, room service paid for with free tax-free imaginary money, free slot play that made us money. Admittedly, I lost some money in the afternoon, but a wonderful time, a wonderful way to apply our casino wisdoms, ABC, always be casinoing. When it's all said and done, I finished the 2 weeks up a couple days' pay, which is not ideal. If it had been regular work, if we had decided not to always be casinoing, if we had just done the long drive, I'd have finished a little better, but we'd have had a lot less fun, and we wouldn't have used that free tax-free imaginary money. We wouldn't have used the free slot play because it was on Mrs. TRG's card, and we would have had a much longer drive. So thought those were interesting examples of things that you folks should all know and hear about. Hope you found that useful. The next thing we're going to do is adjourn to the virtual VIP lounge. Lounge.
A little bit of the bubbly.
Welcome to the most must-listen-to segment in casino lifestyle podcasting, the Virtual VIP Lounge, and our lounge is open, and we have the best virtual everything virtually all the time. Best virtual food and drink served in any virtual VIP lounge anywhere on the interwebs, guaranteed, or your money back. As always, if you can, press pause, pour yourself something today, fix a plate. I am all about it today. I have wrapped up everything I need to do. I actually had an adult beverage down at the casino to wrap up today after spending a little time at the tables and making a little money. And so I am back to the old reliable here. I am back to a double pour of Crown Royal Apple with just one ice cube. If you can, join me. I love hanging out in VIP lounges. I love when I have the opportunity to make new friends, meet old friends, tell stories, and today's story very much falls into that category. Now, sometimes I have a story for you here that has a teach, and sometimes I have a story here that's kind of looking back on my life, and I'm not sure this is either of them. It's just kind of funny and ironic in the life of myself and my wife, Mrs. TRG, the radiant goddess of casino combat. A funny thing happened on the way to the craps table, I guess, perhaps. We have been playing craps more and more, something that we have not traditionally done. You've watched that evolution or listened to that evolution in the reality podcast that is Casino Combat, as you've watched us evolve into people that play craps more and more. But the reality is we often use it as a fill-in game to gather points, in which we grab a lot of value, or as a fill-in game to spend time at the casino and enjoy time in a casino, and to enjoy comp drinks if that's an option at the particular casino we're in. And as you heard when we were talking about when I was talking about our recent trip, we used it for that reason sometimes when table limits are out of whack, whether that's because of a special event going on near the casino, or that's because we're on the Las Vegas Strip and the blackjack rules are horrible. So we find ourselves at craps tables more and more. And as I said, a funny thing happened on the way to the craps table, or at the craps table. Mrs. TRG is much likely to hold the dice for an extended period of time than I am. She listened well when we learned from Howard Rock and Roller on Dice Cruise 2 with Premier Casino hosting. She learned a lot from him, and she learned a lot about how she wants to throw the dice, and she gets, randomly perhaps, but she gets much better results than I do. She is much likely to hold the dice for a long period of time. So while what I'm going to tell you about has happened several times in several different places, the place that stood out the most was on the cruise recently, and we'd got beaten up a bit, and we're now just playing for points, we're now just playing for comps, and we're playing that play all day strategy that I was talking about. Or in this case, I'm playing the play all day strategy alone, and she is betting the pass line as part of being the shooter, and she is placing some numbers here and there as part of being the shooter. And here is the cold hard truth. I probably understand about a half to 2/3 of the game of craps. I understand enough to play the way I want to play, but there are a whole bunch of bets on the craps table that I just kind of understand, and I'm never going to make them, and that's fine. Mrs. TRG understands less than I understand. So here's the setup for how this ends up going. She ends up holding the dice for a long period of time. I've long since made my 4 wagers on any shooter using the play all day strategy, and I'm just hanging around. But things keep happening on the craps table that she doesn't understand while she holds the dice. The interesting one that jumps out from the cruise and it's a little unique in land-based casinos. I don't hear it as often, but there were a lot of people betting the hard ways. And so they kept saying, come on, here we go. We won a 22. We won a 44. We won a 55. And at a couple points, she just kind of looked at me and she goes, I don't know how to do that. I said, it's okay. And I explained to her and everybody kind of chuckled. And so the running joke became, don't worry about it, honey. Just throw the dice and I'll look pretty and explain the game to you. Obviously, perhaps a juxtaposition on some other things in some movie scenes, but often that ends up being what's going on, is I end up just being, I mean, let's face it, folks, this is an audio podcast because I have a face well suited to radio and not necessarily to video. But it is funny when we end up in situations where My job is to have on more bling and just stand there and look cute, or as cute as I can look, and explain the game to her to the best of my ability while she holds the dice for 45, 50 minutes, rolls all kinds of numbers, hits all kinds of points, and makes all kind of money for the table. And that is the interesting thing about casinos, and that is an interesting thing about a casino lifestyle. I've told you before, there were times when my job in Tropicana was to be the arm candy, and they thought she was the big player and that I didn't know what was going on. And that was just a role that I was more than happy to play when it was my turn to play it. And I'm more than happy to hang around when she's having a great role and just explain the parts of the game to her that she doesn't know or doesn't understand, to explain to her when there is no point established and a 2 or 3 is rolled, that she needs to replace her pass line bet, and help her with some of the other mechanics. No problem with it at all. No aggravation with it. Just interesting how the juxtaposition sometimes changes, or I guess perhaps not. Sometimes I guess my role is just to be the guy that knows what's going on and help her have a great time, and that's more than fine too. Please tip your waitresses, tip your bartenders, tip your dealers. If you have a host, tip your host. Don't tip away your wins. I have spoken. Everything you heard here is true from a certain point of view. In 10 years, we may find out I was wrong about all of this. It's time for leaving, and I hope you understand I was born a rambling man. Love it, hate it, it don't matter. Please share with your family and friends. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you for listening. As always, the best part of the podcast is next, the Casino Combat Blues.
Did you know that parents rank teaching financial literacy as the toughest life skill? That's where Greenlight comes in, the debit card and money app made for families. With Greenlight, you can send money quickly, set up chores, automate allowance, and track spending with real-time notifications. Kids learn how to earn, save, and spend responsibly, while parents have peace of mind knowing smart money habits are being built. Try Greenlight risk-free today at greenlight.com/Spotify.
With new, gentler scented Clorox disinfecting wipes, clean finally smells as good as it feels. On everything from lamps to ceiling fans. Even on your kid's toy shark. Oh, ouch. Clorox disinfecting wipes, now available in crisp lemon. Find it on Amazon. Clorox, clean feels good.
For Atlantic City Empress, Casino Combat's ace. There are profits in the casino tonight, I can feel it in my bones. I had a premonition, you should probably play alone. I know the house has an advantage, but that's part of the thrill. If we follow the core concepts, the chips begin to spill. So baby, here's your player's card, put your bankroll in your hand. Use just some of that money now, do it just the way we planned. Just follow the core concepts and you could win several grand. Well, it's good if it goes down like that, don't have to play to lose. It's gambling as a business, the Casino Combat Blues. Casino Combat Blues. The dealers and the pit bosses, the security and the law, the winning and the losing and the tricks nobody saw. No matter if it's blackjack, roulette or craps, you've gotta carry defense cause you always carry cash. There's lots of shady characters, lots of dirty deals. Everybody has an alias cause that's more fun we feel. It's the lure of winning money, it's got a very strong appeal. Perhaps you'd understand it better standing in my shoes. It's the ultimate enticement, it's the Casino Combat Blues. Casino Combat Blues. Whoa. us and we don't need to go away. We can gamble in Atlantic City, we can gamble in LA, we can gamble out in Vegas. I mean, we're here to stay. Gambling's propping up the budgets of folks like me and you. You ask any casino manager, he'll say there's nothing he can do. From the pockets of the casino, right down to me and you. Me and you. It's a winning proposition and one you shouldn't refuse. It's just the core concepts, the casino combat blues. Casino combat blues.
Mint is still $15 a month for premium wireless. And if you haven't made the switch yet, here are 15 reasons why you should. 1, it's $15 a month. 2, seriously, it's $15 a month. 3, no big contracts. 4, I use it. 5, my mom uses it. Are you playing me off? That's what's happening, right? Okay, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, $15 per month equivalent required. New customer offer first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Making films? Then you got footage in Dropbox. Scripts and docs, notes in Slack, and no time to hunt. Dropbox Dash, new from Dropbox, pulls it all together so you can focus on the final edit. Learn more at dropbox.com/dash.